Hey Chris, I'm Mark Alexander. I'm the head of Golden Robot Records, which is owned by Golden Robot Global Entertainment. Mate, good to see you. Finally get together after a few hits and misses.
I know, mate. Both of our schedules seem to be aligning against us, but we finally made it.
Totally, mate. It's good. And even if that has to be at Sparrow's fart in the morning, it's worth it.
I know you're my first of the day, mate. So you're copping me at my worst. So best of luck.
Is there a black coffee? Is there a coffee there underneath you?
There, I haven't even had a chance to go to the kitchen yet. I woke straight
I
up,
got,
pretty much
I got
open
one for you.
mind. Very good. All right, mate. Well, before we get into this chat, I'm sure there are people out there who aren't exactly sure what Robot Records is, mate. So give us a bit of a brief outline of what it is that you're up to.
Well, Golden Robot Records started about nearly 10 years ago now and started off with a bang. Basically, it started because of my son. My son was on Australia's Got Talent and he was about 9 at the time. He's 21 now. And he nearly won the show. He's that little drummer, that little blonde drummer. And when he came out of the show, we thought, well, we don't want him to be a novelty. We want him to have some sort of a legacy. So we put him together with a couple of great guys who are fantastic musicians. Steve Balbi was one of them from Noiseworks. And they made this great album. They called the album The Orbiter. And the band was called Moon. It's actually a really good album. It's on Spotify and you can still get the vinyl these days. Anyway, when I shopped that around, nobody was interested. Nobody gave a shit. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this myself. So I'd given everybody a little, as a little present, to thank them for the recording, a little golden robot. So when it was time to name the company, we named it Golden Robot Records. And we started off hard, mate. We were signing some great bands in the States and Europe. I was working with Derek Shulman, who was the ex-president of Roadrunner, who discovered everyone from Slipknot, Nickelback, Bon Jovi, Pantera, you name it. And him and I went along and got involved in quite a lot of things from about 2015 for about 4 years. And then we just kept going. We grew to 12 labels. Mate, we've probably put out 1,000 albums, spent a lot of money on this over the years. And it's culminated in us now. This is a different year for us, which is sort of segueing into what we want to talk about. And, we've had the hits and misses over the years. We've had some things that have gone to number one. We've had some things that have been a disaster. Some things that you thought were going to do really well hasn't done well. Some things we fucked up. Some things we didn't fuck up. Some things were absolutely brilliant. But look, that's the business. The good thing about being an Aussie and working in the global world is if you make a mistake, you can apologise and fix it and get on with it. You're not hiding it. If you're doing something well, we'll celebrate it with you. So it's served its purpose and it's served us well. And we've worked with some great bands. We've got global distribution for physical and digital, which I've just changed recently to even a better setup. Great PR people, great marketing people. My team today is the best it's ever been. We've had a few changes over the last 6 months, and I've got a really good team that just gets on with it. There's no dramas. We're just into it for the music and into it to get the word out about Aussie music across the world. And it's exciting. It's really exciting.
Damn straight, mate. And things are getting even more exciting because this year you've branched out even further with robot distros. So tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, Kris, it's been a really great sort of segue into that business. Over the last few years, obviously we've done a physical product and a digital product, but we get so many people every single day applying to join Golden Robot. And up until last year, there was obviously, you can't sign everybody and not everybody you want to sign. That's just the way that the business is. So we decided to retire a few of the brands. We had Riot Records and Crusader Records and Bread and Butter Records, which really did some fantastic albums over the last few years. lots and lots of different things over the time. So I've put those on hold for the moment, and I've just kept Golden Robot, the main label, rocking and rolling. And that's taken everybody on board, whether it's from Nick Barker to Orgy, who we just signed to do a couple of singles, Cairo Knife Fight to God, you name it. There's so many different people we're doing under there. It's been a really good start to the year and coming on from last year. But I started up a label that could take on all those bands that were coming across that just wanted digital service and something a little bit more than DistroKid or CD Baby or any of those labels will give you, because really they're just putting your music out. What we're doing is, yes, we're just putting it out as well. We're giving you a good percentage. We're giving you a much better percentage than you would get normally, because we're not doing as much as we would if you're on the main label, but we're still doing more than those other companies. We've got a massive database of journos and bloggers and reviewers all across the world. So their music still gets serviced PR-wise, which is not happening on the other side with those other companies unless you're paying for it. So they get that service as part of this upload. So it's very exciting, and it's doing really, really well. We've had an incredible amount of people. In fact, we've had to put more people on just to handle the influx of all those bands, which is super exciting. So Robot Distro is absolutely alive and well. And there is something in the contract that, yes, it's distro only, and you know exactly what we're going to do for you. But there's also then, if things start going well, there's the opportunity to potentially go to the main label or us potentially to do a physical product for you. So that's all there as a trigger. It doesn't just stay on the distro, but people, the bands and the artists are really taking it up and excited about it. And I think we're giving something a little bit extra. So that's super cool.
Yes. Well, now there's probably a lot of bands out there listening to this and getting really excited at the moment. But what are the basic entry level requirements? Like, what do they have to have in place before they contact you?
A guitar.
Done.
Now look, you need to have a couple of things. I mean, this is where, you know, I know we've got a limited time today, but the thing is this: you've got to have the basics right if you're a band. And I've gone on the record a lot of interviews talking about this. You can't just turn up with a song and say to the label, "Here you go, you do all the work." You got to work together, and the band has got to have, obviously, their material recorded well. Look, some bands record in their garage, some bands record with friends because that's all they can afford to do, and that's absolutely fine. But if the quality of the recording reflects the quality of what you've produced, fantastic. If you're happy with it, we're happy with it. And, you know, we can listen to some stuff, and if we're not happy with the recording, we're going to let you know and go, look, this isn't good enough, doesn't represent the band well. But, you know, 9 times out of 10, what we're handed as far as the recording is fine. You've got to have that ready. Tick. Secondly, you've got to have your socials ready. You've got to have your socials. You've got to have your Instagram, your Facebook, your TikTok, whatever. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of TikTok, but I understand the necessary evil of it. You know, I'm not I am a massive fan of Spotify and iTunes, etc. A lot of people don't like it. I say, yes, they should be paying more to the artist. 100% should be paying more to the artist. That I absolutely agree with. And that is something I'd love to see happen. However, you're not going to get to the bloke that's sitting at lunch in India, or the girl that's sitting in at her desk in Oklahoma, to you know, the couple that's in New Zealand by any other means other than digital. And that's what I love about Spotify. And you're getting to people, and iTunes and Amazon and Deezer and all those services. You're getting to more people than you would ever get to if it was the old days. So you've really got to have your socials right. You've got to have you've got to be able to have claimed your Spotify artist page on Spotify already. All those little things you should be doing as a band. And thirdly, and most importantly, you really should be touring and playing behind your releases. Yeah. You really should be getting out there and live. I mean, I went to last week Midnight Oil's new documentary that was part of the Sydney Film Festival, and hence I'm wearing my Midnight Oil shirt today. And you forget how important Midnight Oil was, what they did with Exxon, what they did at the Olympics with the Sorry on their Sorry on their jumpers. All these things they did along the way was incredible, but they played and they played and they played and they played, and they were doing something like it said it in the doco, which I knew anyway, was 200 and something gigs a year. So I understand things are a little bit different these days. There's not as many places to play, but you can certainly get out there. So that would be number 3. So the right quality product, and a great song is a great song. The socials and that whole slew of that's set up right, and obviously touring and playing behind it, and then everything else will fall into place. And if we do our job and get the music into as many ears as possible and onto as many desks like yourself as possible, and it's got to be something that stands out. I can imagine how many. I was going to say faxes. Oh my god! How many?
What they are?
Yeah, I can imagine how many emails you get a day, and it's got to be something that stands out. A press release that stands out. Something that's that it's going to come across your desk. And this is the one thing I loved about Golden Robot is we are getting behind some great stuff. And so when journos or bloggers saw it, they go, "Oh, what are these guys into now?" So it was helping the bands with the way we were doing things. So that's sort of the basics of what I believe in a real quick conversation the bands have got to have ready, and then we can do the rest.
Sweet. And then how do people contact you to see if you're interested?
Go through the website, and you'll see a contact form on the website where you can send everything through, goldenrobotrecords.com. And then, there's a full team there that's going over these and listening and getting back to everyone very, very quickly, and getting their music out. And it's exciting, man. I'm looking at their socials, and I'm looking at our socials, and it's just this community and this family. And this was something I was always proud of. You'll have Eric from Wild Streets, congratulating the guys from this band, and this band congratulating these guys. And it's really, really cool. And you can see it going back and forwards and tagging. I could just see our socials spiking as well as their socials. It's good. It's good for the bands. It's good for music. I always say, you might hate Greta Van Fleet. I personally love them, but you might hate Greta Van Fleet and their music, but you know what? They're bloody good for rock and roll because they're selling albums and they're making people come to shows. So that's basically where our heads are at.
Sweet. Now, you touched on this a little bit before, but I was speaking with Orgy last week, who headed out to Australia with Cold in October, and they mentioned a 2-song deal with you guys. What's going on with that?
Yeah, I'm talking to them straight after you. It's funny, I mentioned before Derek Shulman, and Derek was always very instrumental in the very early days because I was quite green at what I was doing, signing bands, and they were one of the first bands we approached, Orgy. I remember being in Los Angeles and having dinner with them. Was actually around the time that old mate from what was his name, Chester Beddington, passed away. And there was a big dinner, and his wife was there, and the Orgy guys were there, and I was at that dinner. So that that's quite a fair way, a long time ago now. So we were after them. We couldn't put a deal together back then. And then I saw them again at the 50th Rainbow Anniversary party or gig in LA, where a couple of our bands were playing at that gig, and they played as well. And I always thought, you know what? Let's I never drop things. I just always, if it doesn't happen, I just put it to the side and then I revisit it later. But I revisited it and spoke to the boys and management and to Lou, and yeah, we put a two single deal, or with a few other things. It's a good deal. A couple of new singles to coincide with that tour. And I love Cold as well. They're a great band. That's going to be a killer tour later on this year.
Yeah, it's going to be massive, sure.
Yeah. And I heard it's selling really well.
As it should.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's exciting.
Very good. All right, mate. Well, that about rounds it up what I've got for you today, but I'm sure we'll be in contact in the near future because there's always advancements going on with Golden Robot Records. So whenever anything else happens, mate, give us a yell and we'll yarn some more.
I will, Kris. And I know you're busy, and I appreciate you taking the time for us. And I appreciate the support as well. Thank you, buddy.